Stonehenge may be the world's most famous Neolithic monument. It was built in several stages, beginning around 3100 BCE. The larger outer ring consists of stones standing 13 feet tall and 6 feet wide. They weighed around 25 tons and are made of a type of silcrete rock called sarsen stone. The smaller stones are bluestone. They weigh 2 and 5 tons per stone and, incredibly, are from the Preseli Hills in southwest Wales, around 180 miles away from Stonehenge. But all these are well-known facts about Stonehenge. In this video, we will delve a little deeper and explore 5 unknown secrets of Stonehenge. Number 1. It was once a part of a huge settlement. When visiting Stonehenge today, the monument stands in isolation from the grassy chalkland surrounding it. However, Stonehenge was not always a standalone monument, and the site sits in an area that contains numerous other historical monuments, including the Avebury Stone Circle, which possibly predates Stonehenge. Historians today think that the Neolithic people who built Stonehenge were probably based at a site called Durrington Walls, a few miles away. This large settlement is believed to have housed around 4,000 people in roughly 1,000 houses, 7 of which have been excavated. Some historians believe this may have been the largest Neolithic settlement in Northern Europe, albeit briefly, but this claim is difficult to prove. As well as the settlement of Durrington Walls that lies within sight of Stonehenge, the more archaeologists investigate, the more evidence is found that the area was bustling with activity. In 2020, the UK government approved plans to dig a tunnel at the site of Stonehenge so that the nearby road would be rerouted out of sight of the monument's visitors. However, many, including UNESCO and a campaign group called Save Stonehenge World Heritage Site, voiced concerns that the tunnel would have a negative impact on the site. As a reaction to the plans, archaeologists dug 1,777 test pits and 440 trenches to the east and west of Stonehenge to try and uncover whether there were significant artifacts that may be destroyed should work on the tunnel commence. The excavation teams found many relics and prehistoric human remains that added fuel to the argument that digging a tunnel would compromise the historical evidence that still lies around Stonehenge. The finds include burned flint, pottery, deer antlers, and burials, suggesting the site was part of daily life, as well as being used as a part of rituals, burials, and astronomical tracking. While we still have no concrete evidence of what the site was used for, it was undeniably a large part of the Neolithic culture in the area. Although the approval of the tunnel was overturned in 2021 by a high court due to environmental concerns that it could cause permanent and irreversible harm to the prehistoric site, in 2023, Transport Secretary Mark Harper once again granted development consent for the site, with plans to widen the roads and divert them underground. However, it is unlikely that construction will start soon due to funding issues and the inevitable legal challenges by organizations wanting to preserve the site. Perhaps in the coming years, we will get a clearer picture of life in Neolithic Salisbury and gain further evidence that our Neolithic ancestors were more advanced and settled than previously believed. Number 2. It has at least one sister temple known as Woodhenge. Woodhenge is within walking distance of Stonehenge and comprises 6 concentric rings made from timber posts. The monument is oval, around 40 meters long and 36 meters wide. Later, 2 sarsen stones, like the ones used to build Stonehenge, were added to the southern side, perhaps to replace rotted timber posts. Woodhenge was built roughly around the same time as Stonehenge and faced toward the settlement of Durrington Walls, which lies around 70 meters from Woodhenge. When the site was first excavated, many objects were found, including grooved-ware pottery antler picks, used to dig holes in the surrounding ditch, flint tools, animal bones, and carved chalk objects. Like Stonehenge, Woodhenge is associated with rituals, but unlike its stone counterpart, items were left at the site, deliberately placed at specific places around the henge. Pieces have been found in the ditch on either side of the entrance, around the posts, and in the holes left when posts rotted away. In contrast, Stonehenge seems to have been kept pretty clean and had significantly fewer objects left at the monument. Woodhenge may have also been linked to burials, with fragments of human bones found, along with evidence of at least one cremation. A 2- or 3-year-old child was buried near the center of the monument, and the remains of a young male, thought to have been buried between 1760 and 1670 BCE, were found in the ditch that surrounds the site. Woodhenge overlooks the Avon River and is connected to Stonehenge by way of the Avenue, which is a path made up of parallel banks and ditches that links Stonehenge to the River Avon, and may have been the route used to transport the bluestones from the river. Although it is generally believed that Woodhenge, like Stonehenge, was used to track the seasons to locate and cultivate food, how its creators used it is still unknown. Some believe that the Neolithic people may have celebrated the solstice by observing the sunrise at one location, before feasting and practicing rituals while performing a ceremonial procession to the next site to watch the sunset. Others believe the winter solstice was celebrated at one henge while the other was aligned to the summer solstice. But as Stonehenge and Woodhenge were both built with the same alignment on the same axis, it is clear that they were linked to astronomical observations. Number 3. It was bought at an auction by someone only looking for chairs. Stonehenge has been a popular tourist attraction since at least the Middle Ages, but unlike tourist spots today, little attention was paid to how the site was treated. During the 1800s, many visitors would chip bits off as souvenirs or scratch their names into the stones. The monument was in a state of disrepair, and in 1881, timber props started to be used to support stones that were in danger of falling. In December 1900, many of the upright sarsen stones collapsed, causing the enormous horizontal lintel to be snapped in two. After public outcry, a police constable was appointed to guard the stones from further damage, and more wooden props were used to stabilize the unsteady blocks. A fence was erected, and visitors were required to pay a fee, contributing to the monument's upkeep. Stonehenge was owned by the Antrobus household at this time, and it had been in their family since the early 1800s. Sir Edmund Antrobus took an interest in the restoration of the stones, and he was initiated into the Ancient Order of Druids at a ceremony at Stonehenge in 1905. In 1914, his eldest son and heir was killed during fighting in Belgium just 3 months into World War I. Edmund died 4 months later, and his second son, Cosmo, began selling off the Antrobus estate. Cosmo was the last in the Antrobus line, dying unmarried in 1939. On September 21, 1915, Messrs. Knight, Frank, and Rutley conducted the auction of Stonehenge. Meanwhile, a local lady called Mary Chubb sent her husband out to buy a set of dining chairs. He sat patiently in the auction room, waiting for a suitable lot to come up, meanwhile watching bidding on the other lots. Lot 15 was Stonehenge, and the bidding started at £5,000 and went up in increments of £100 until a bid of £6,500 was placed by a local man called Isaac Crook, whose grandson still farms fields around Stonehenge today. But one more bid was placed, a £6,600 bid by Cecil Chubb. You can imagine what Cecil's wife said when he returned with no chairs, but in possession of Stonehenge with about 30 acres, 2 rods, 37 perches of adjoining downland. When questioned about his purchase by a local reporter, he replied he had not attended the auction with the intention of buying the famous monument. But while I was in the room, I thought a Salisbury man ought to buy it, and that's how it was done. Chubb asserted that although he had no current plans for the site, he did intend on protecting Stonehenge. True to his word, 3 years later, he donated Stonehenge to the nation, declaring, "I became the owner of it with a deep sense of pleasure, but that it had been pressured upon me that the nation would like to have it for its own." A special handing over ceremony took place in October 1918. Chubb earned the local nickname Viscount of Stonehenge and a knighthood. Number 4. It is covered in carvings. The stones at Stonehenge are weathered and worn, so it may be a surprise to know that many have drawings carved into the surface. In 1953, Professor Atkinson was the first to notice the outline of axe blades and a dagger etched into the surface of one of the trilithon uprights. The shapes of the weapons suggest they were added long after the stones were erected and were carved in the early Bronze Age, between 1750 and 1500 BCE. From 2002 to 2003, Wessex Archaeology headed an investigation into the carvings using terrestrial laser scanning. The project used high data capture to examine the markings that were only a fraction of a millimeter deep in some places. A later study discovered 72 more previously unknown Bronze Age carvings, suggesting that the temple was also a prehistoric art gallery. The carvings mainly depicted Bronze Age axes, and the discovery trebled the number of known carvings on the stones, most of which are invisible to the naked eye. According to Indo-European tradition, axe heads were associated with storm deities, and upward-facing axe blades were seen as talismans that offered protection against lightning and storm damage. The link between these traditions and Stonehenge is undeniable, as every single depiction of an axe head has the blade pointing upwards, while the daggers point towards the earth. These findings suggest that the markings may have been made as ritual offerings to a storm deity. Some suggest that the carvings are associated with funerary rites, as most of the carvings face a nearby set of tombs roughly from the same period. The axe head carvings show surprising uniformity, with a half a dozen carvings having precisely the same dimensions. Researchers suggest that real axe heads were used as stencils, but as the carvings are far larger than the axes commonly found, archaeologists suggest that ceremonial axes were used just for this purpose. Number 5. The Romans also used Stonehenge as a shrine. When the Romans invaded in 43 CE, Stonehenge was already at least 2,000 years old. So how did they view the Neolithic monument? Many historians believe the Romans were responsible for missing stones, evidenced by stone chips below the turf and patches of dead grass in the summer. However, none of the stone has been found in any nearby Roman structures. Far from being dismissed by the Romans, recent excavations have unearthed many Roman objects, suggesting that Romans not only visited the site, but that it had ritual significance to the Romano-British people. In total, around 1,500 Roman artifacts have been found at Stonehenge. At first, it was thought Roman tourists had accidentally misplaced these objects. However, excavations in 2008 produced evidence that items such as brooches were being deliberately deposited and buried at the site. The purposeful placing of jewelry and other pieces suggests that the Romans were using the site for ritual purposes, and that the site still had religious significance during this time. If you know any more interesting and little-known facts about Stonehenge, let us know in the comments below. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about history, check out our Captivating History book series. The books cover a wide range of historical periods and are available as ebooks, paperbacks, and audiobooks. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.